Okay, so what I wanted to talk about this morning and what's going on in the business world is, here's the question. The question is, who do you know who did nothing at all and had their dreams come true? Who do you know who did nothing at all and had their dreams come true? Anyone?
Kardashian.
Kardashian. I have to think about that. Yeah. Who do you know who did nothing at all and had their dreams come true? So I wrote down here, you hear about success stories from agents who do 20 deals a year, 30, 40, 50, 100 transactions a year. And these stories get us excited and motivated to take action, right? Say yes.
Yes.
I mean, that's exciting. We see that at a Mike Ferry event. We go to the seminars. We see what's going on. 30, 40, 50 transactions. Pretty exciting. Then we start working, following some of the things that they recommend you do, or that some of the trainers recommend you do, or some of your coaches like me recommend you do, and you do that for a few weeks, and you don't quite see the results. Then you start to get a little disappointed. Then it starts to wane a little bit, and then either the system or you are the problem, right? Say yes.
Yes.
So we're starting to slow down a little bit, and then we start to stop. We were motivated, we were excited, we started doing it, we started to be motivated, started to get some momentum, and then we start to wane a little bit. So I wrote down here, here's a thought to remember on this subject. Agents who do a lot of business consistently have paid their dues to get where they are today. Think about that. Agents who do a lot of business consistently have been paying their dues. They've learned their scripts. They've worked on their previewing. They've seen properties. They prospect on a regular scale. They follow up. They return phone calls. They have paid their dues. They've set goals. They've made and executed plans, and they continue to work hard daily to maintain their level of success. So I wrote down here, if you want to increase your production, who wants to increase their production?
I do.
Okay, not everybody. Okay, now we got everybody. If you want to increase your production, it's time now. In September, 15th of September already. We're almost in the last quarter of the year in 2013. Some of you have done an amazing job. Some of you are way ahead of schedule, way ahead of your goals, or at least on your goals. Some of you are a little bit behind. We still have plenty of time to make it up if you choose to get into action right now. So I want to talk about the traits that go into being a superstar you want to be. So write this down. First thought, persistence. Persistence. I believe that's the one trait that will lead you to success throughout your entire life. Persistence in exercise. Persistence in saving money. Persistence in the way you spend money, being conservative. Persistence in your prospecting. Persistence in your role play. Persistence in learning scripts and dialogues. Persistence. You'll be able to push through yourself further than your competition and ultimately achieve your goals that you've set for yourself as long as you're persistent in all those areas. Let's write down number 2. Write down SW, SW. Some will, some won't. This is very scientific. Some will, some won't. Some will, some won't. What am I talking about? When prospecting for new clients, when following up on old clients, remember, some will do business with you, some won't. It doesn't really matter. There are a lot of people for you to be talking to. What happens is we get stuck. We run out of what we think are people to talk to, but they're not. Let me ask you guys a question. In life, are there generally, do you know more people? How's that saying go? We know more people than we think we do, right? Constantly. So I wrote down, some will, some won't. But someone out there is waiting for you, and all you have to do is keep searching until you get that yes from qualified clients. Some will, some won't. Some will, some won't. Write down next point. You can't skip steps. This is a biggie. Most agents want to try and skip a step and move. Who here has played Chutes and Ladders? Remember in Chutes and Ladders, okay, I got a 5.5-year-old grandson. Okay, we're doing a lot of that stuff right now. All right? So we're doing the Chutes and Ladders. Well, in Chutes and Ladders, you go step by step by step by step unless you land on a certain square, and then you can go boom and move forward or maybe backwards, but you have these chutes and ladders that you're constantly working on, right? Say yes. Okay, so that's about skipping steps. In the real estate business, you can't do that. As a 5-year-old, you can. In fact, they're really good at it. In fact, if you turn your head, they go down all the chutes really fast. One of life's realities is that major improvements take time. It doesn't just magically happen. It's unfortunate, but it doesn't just magically happen. It's not possible to go from being a brand new agent to a superstar in 3 months. It's just not. Okay? It's just not. But is it possible to go from 10 transactions to 20 transactions over the next 12 months? Is that possible? And could you go from 20 transactions to 30 transactions in the next 12 months? Is that possible? You see, we overestimate what we can do in 12 months and way underestimate what we can do in 5 years. That's what's going on in our lives. And that's what gets us discouraged along the way. Don't skip any steps. It's not possible to, so I wrote down here, as long as you're persistent, focused on your goals, and you're consistently taking the necessary steps to reach your goals, it will happen. You have to preview property. You have to work on your scripts and dialogues. You have to spend 3 hours a day prospecting. You need to be door knocking. You need to be phone canvassing. And then tomorrow you need to do it again. I kind of feel like I'm on deaf ears today. Am I? No. You're listening and writing. Intensely. Good job. I wrote down here, becoming a master takes time. Becoming a master takes time. It's something that nobody really wants to hear. No one wants to hear, this is going to take time. I am a 40-year overnight success. I have spent 40 years doing this business. 1971, I got my real estate license. 1971. Not many of you were alive then. As I look around, that's scary. At one time, and at 1971, 2, 3, 4, in that time, I was very young for the real estate business. In the business at that time, they were retired postal people, retired teachers, they were older women and older men, And then here I was 22, 23 years old. And I was always running, and people would be looking at me as, you're not old enough to know this business. You know, what do you know? How can you do it? And so some of us today in this room kind of run into that sometimes. How can you possibly know? How can you take care of me and what I need in the real estate business? I get it. I was there. Fast forward 40 years. Now I'm too old. What the hell do you know? You know, you don't know the cool things on the internet, you know. You don't know Facebook and LinkedIn and. Experience is so valuable. It's amazing. You can gain the experience. You know how? Preview property. Preview property. You could become as good as any superstar in a very short period of time. Think about your market. Think about the market you're in, whether it's Corona, whether it's Walnut, whether it's Fontana, whether it's Rancho Cucamonga, whether it's right here in San Dimas or Diamond Bar. Now think about this. If you went and in the next 30 or 40 days, 60 days, 5 houses a day, 5 days a week is 25 houses a week. And you did that for 4 weeks, you would see 100 houses in any market we were just talking about. Question: if you saw 100 houses in the next 4 weeks in any one of those cities, how well would you know that market? How well would you know the market?
Absolutely.
You would know it as well as any professional out there. Anyone that's been in the business, in that area for 8, 10, 12, 15 years. You would know it as well, maybe even better. And then you move to the market next door. And then to the market next door. And then to the market next door. And in 6 months, you've seen 600 homes. How well would you know that the market that you're working? Hello?
Very well.
Really well. And yet, we'll all agree that that's an activity we should be doing. We'll all agree that if we did do that activity, we would be phenomenal in this business. And yet, we don't do it. I wrote down here, becoming a master takes time. It's something that nobody really wants to hear, but becoming great at anything takes a lot of time. Who's heard of the book, The Outliners by Malcolm Gladwell? Some of you should read. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called The Outliners. In the book, in my opinion, one of the main thoughts was that he talks about the concept of 10,000 hours of practice. 10,000 hours of practice. The great pianists of the world, the great violinists of the world, the great people that we talk about that do amazing things in the world, all have one thing in common. And that is they spent 10,000 hours working on their field, in their field. On their scripts and dialogues, if the case may be. On their music, at the piano, on the violin. How many hours have you spent this week working on your business? Not in your business, on your business. Learning your scripts and dialogues. Previewing property, that's working on the business, not in the business. Writing contracts, that's working in the business. Door knocking, that's working in the business. Being on a listing presentation, in the business. But on the business, how much time do you spend working on the business? How much time do you spend practicing? I wrote down here, you have to practice, 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 and then practice some more. The good news, here's the neat part of this whole concept. The good news is that most people aren't willing to pay the price to achieve mastery. You have no competition if you choose to do this. If you choose to work toward the 10,000 hours, you have no competition. But if you choose not to do this, you're like all the other average real estate agents. Do you want to be average, or do you want to be a superstar? Your question. Average or a superstar? I wrote down here the extra mile. Next point. Going the extra mile. We talked about this a little bit before. Going the extra mile, because the extra mile is never crowded. To be a great salesman, we need to set ourselves apart from our competitors. To do that, we must go the extra mile. So here's a couple of things that are involved with the extra mile. Show up on time. You have no competition, or very little competition with anyone if you show up on time. Because most of your competitors don't show up on time, right? Think about it. They don't. They don't show up on time. How about calling back your clients when you say you will? There's a concept. Call back your clients when you said you were going to do that. That will set you apart from your competition. I wrote down here, communicate with your buyers and sellers weekly. Buyers and sellers weekly. Here's what's going on in the marketplace like this, especially now. You've gone out and you were very, very excited about what's happening in the marketplace, and you told a client, wow, we can get your home sold because in the last 3 or 4 months, properties have been selling very fast, right? Say yes. Yes. And we tell them that. You know, then, and they're excited. You're excited, they're excited, they catch the excitement, they sign the contract with you. All right? Now, it's Thursday night. They sign a contract with you. You run back to go put the property in the MLS on Friday. Now, it's a little bit overpriced because instead of listing the property, because the market's adjusted a little bit, become a little bit more normal rather than crazy. It's a little bit normal right now. By the way, just a sidestep. The market we just came out of was extraordinary, not normal. The market we're in now is more, what? Normal. It is not normal for prices to go up as much as the seller wants them to do. They want 50,000 more, they want 60,000 more, they want 70,000 more, and what do we say? Okay, yes. Right? What do you want? Okay. And that's the market we were in. And we worked in that market. That market's changed. It's gone. It's goodbye. Have you? Have you changed? Because that market's changed. Right now, this is more of a normal market. So you have to communicate with your buyers and sellers. So you went and listed the house. You get it in the MLS. 2 or 3 days later, a sign goes up on the property. They still don't hear from you. And because the property's a little bit higher priced, no one's showing it. So the client on Thursday night was very excited that the possibility of their home selling was going to happen very quickly, and there was going to be a flood of real estate agents coming by to show it. And it's now Monday or Tuesday, and no one's been by. How's the seller feel? Not happy, disappointed, right? So who do they blame for this? The real estate agent, who, by the way, hasn't been in touch, right? It's been a week. You're nervous. You went to the broker. Hey, I listed the house. It's been 4 days. I don't have an offer. What the hell happened to the market? I don't know. It changed. Yeah, and what am I going to tell my sellers? Well, tell them what's going on in the market. Yeah, but they need to move, or they need to sell, or they're expecting this price, and I don't know that we're going to get it for them. So another week goes by. You haven't talked to them. How happy are they with you now? They're not happy at all. So the extra mile is a conversation I'm having with each and every one of you, that your coaches are having with you, and that is, when you list the property, print the MLS, and you go put it in the MLS, print that out, email it and or mail it to the client, depends on if they're on email or not. So at least in the next 24 or 48 hours, they get something from you that says that you're working for them. Then, 2 or 3 days later, when the property gets into the websites, each time it comes up and you go search it, you print out the web page and send that to the client. You see now what's going on. Every 2 or 3 days, you're communicating with the seller. So now they're not quite as upset with you. Does this make sense? Yes. How much money does this cost? Virtually nothing, except maybe a stamp, occasionally.
Time.
A little bit of time. Well, okay. So the extra mile. Communicate with the buyers and sellers weekly. How about listen to the clients, pay attention? How much does that cost?
0.
How much?
0.
Okay. How about preview property? How much does that cost? Okay, that might cost you some money. That's going to cost you some gas, all right? Which is exactly the reason you don't do it, because it costs some money, and it's exactly the reason you must do it, because your competitors are not. Do you guys get this? Whatever the competitor isn't going to do, I'm going to do in spades. If they're not going to door knock, look, let's just talk about expireds real quick. Expireds. And by the way, are there more or less expireds right now in the marketplace? More. Okay. How are you doing with your scripts and dialogues for expireds? How many hours have you practiced that over the last 4 to 6 weeks since we've been talking about there's going to be more expireds every day, every week, every month? Okay? More. Okay. How about this group over here? How many hours are you guys spending with your expireds and for sale by owners? A little bit? Few? All right, I'm not going to talk. Oh, I'm not going to put you on. This is the extra mile. What are you doing different? What are you doing different to take advantage of this marketplace? I wrote down, you will never change your life. Listen to this and then write it down. You will never change your life until you change something you do daily. You will never change your life. If you're happy where you are, then so be it. But if you want to change your life, you won't change it until you do something, change something daily. You know, an old saying that I get a little flack on. You are where you are in life today because it's okay with you. You are where you are right now, whatever that is, because it's okay with you. You have the chance to change that right now with just a few of these points that we've covered. So draw a line in the paper. Here's a question. How many negative people do you know that are top producers in the sales business? How many people do you know who are top producers who are negative? Hello? Do you know anybody? I can't think of anyone, but maybe you guys can think of somebody that's a negative person who's top. I'm talking 40, 50, 60, 100 transactions a year. How many people can you think of that are negative in this business? So I wrote down here, there's a common misconception that they are happy now because they're top producers. So they were possibly unhappy, and now because they're top producers, they're happy. Get it? Is that possible? Sounds reasonable? Okay. I want you to interview every top producer you can think of, and I want you to find out if in fact they were happy people to begin with and then moved on. Now, are they happier?
Right.
Could they be happier? Yes. But if they weren't happy to begin with, there's a really, really, really good chance they're not top producers today. Because negative people don't climb that mountain. I wrote down here, according to the Harvard study, it said, we have long had the formula for happiness backwards. Conventional wisdom says that if we work hard, we'll be more successful, and if we're more successful, then we'll be happy. That's conventional wisdom, all right? Recent discoveries, though, they say, in the field of positive psychology have shown that this formula is actually backwards. Happiness fuels success, not the other way around. Happiness fuels success, not the other way around. Think about that. So we've trained our brain to think along lines of, I'll be happy as soon as. I'll be happy as soon as I get a new listing. I'll be happy when I knock 100 doors. I'll be happy when I make $500,000 this year. But most of the people, they're already happy on the journey, and they're happy with their quote-unquote lot in life today, trying to go and move to that next point. If someone is consistently, scanning the world for negatives, then they will have no energy left for looking for the positive. We know people like that? We know people that are always looking for the negative in the transaction, the negative in the conversation, the negative between people. What's wrong with this picture instead of what could be right with this picture? I wrote down here, by changing the way we appreciate happiness, we can improve all the dimensions in our life. They said, this Harvard study says, that the positive brain is 31, write this down, 31% more productive than the brain that's negative, neutral, or stressed. 1/3 more productive. 1/3 more productive. You're making $100,000 a year, you could make $130,000. You make $300,000 a year, you could make $4,000. Negative versus positive. I wrote down here, today matters. If I accept you as you are, I will make you worse. Goethe said this. If I accept you as you are, I will make you worse. If I treat you as though you are what you are capable of becoming. So this is what happens in our coaching. We're pushing you. We're pulling you. We're encouraging you. We're moving you along. We're having another sales meeting that talks about the stupid practice. Ugh. We're talking about prospecting. Ugh. We're talking about previewing, the 3 Ps. Preview, practice, and prospecting. Ooh, let's get rid of those.